So let's call this the first podcast for the Singles Confessions, where we're discussing the realities of modern dating. And this is Grant, and of course, I'm Brian, and we're going to get into it here. Today, I think we talked about maybe discussing social skills, which just matches up so well with some events and things that have happened with me this week. But why don't you start us off, Grant? I mean, what do you think about social skills and the reality of modern dating and what's going on out there?
Well, I remember last week we were talking about, well, we really just went right into it by talking about that guy that killed the CAO in New York,
Yep.
Luigi, that Italian guy with the unibrow.
Yep.
That the Turns out actually women are a lot really jealous of men's eyebrows. So perhaps the first tip is if you're a man with really nice eyebrows, you should not be taking that for granted.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I unfortunately I don't think most men pay attention. We don't even have any idea about eyebrows.
Well, I can if you put a little science behind it. That if you do work on your eyebrows, like thin them out and like shape them and clean them up, I guess, they can really bring out your eyes. And I think eyes, unless the date has changed, eyes are one of the first things that women look at. Whereas with men, we kind of look a little bit further down the belt. But
Right.
the yeah, we were talking about social skills. I don't know if the guy that killed the CEO is old news at this point, but we use that as a way to segue into talking about why women fall for these serial killers and the motivation behind people that are women that are attracted to those types of people. And I think one of the most important points we talked about while we're on that topic was what should men take that are watching this, even though it's for men and women, what should the men take away from this? Should they adopt these traits of a serial killer, or like what about that and the confidence should they take away? That's a
Right.
social skill, right? Confidence.
Yeah. I mean, I think so. I mean, you say confidence or competence?
Confidence.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think you would definitely lump it in there. I mean, I think social skills kind of comes with confidence, right? Because once you kind of feel confident, you feel a little bit more comfortable just, saying what you're thinking and not sitting and worrying about, oh gosh, is this going to sound okay? Is this going to I know I hear a lot of that from guys, especially guys your age, where they are very worried about what they say and they're afraid they're going to offend somebody or things like this. And I mean, that definitely comes, confidence is right in there with that for sure, right?
Oh yeah.
But
I
social
find that.
skills,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, social skills are really it's just a fundamental thing, and I find it lost on many women and many men. I will give two examples of from my dating life for women as far as what I would consider social skills being kind of flawed. And in one of those cases, I had known this woman for a couple of years, and we were both single and things, and it seemed like she was kind of interested. So I called up and I asked her out, and this was not really the first time. I had kind of made hints to it before, but she never really took it. So I was finally like, okay, I'm just going to talk to her about it. And I called her up. I asked her out. She basically just made a bunch of excuses. And then I was like, oh, okay, that's fine. But then, like, fast forward a couple of days, the next time I saw this woman, she comes to me and she says, I just want you to know that there is nobody besides you that I'd rather spend time with.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, why didn't you tell me that on the phone? And so we never ended up dating because we could never actually just communicate that we were interested in dating. It was the strangest thing. Like I made advances, I made suggestions, I did all kinds of things that she could have picked up on and just went with it. And she never did. And then she gives me that, and I don't know what that was about. but it's all crap. And then several times it's happened to me where at the end of a first or second date or something, I have kissed somebody and they acted like they were super surprised, but then after like a minute, then they came back for a lot more.
Mm.
And it was just kind of like, again, I think it's some social skills there, but I don't know. I mean, have you experienced this type of craziness?
Maybe once or twice. I'd have to think about it a lot longer to get specific with it, but it does seem familiar with me. But now that you're saying it out loud, I kind of miss that that experience. Like I'd like that to happen with some of my short term encounters. It must be like I don't know if it's more common with older women. What do you think?
It's solidly possible. I don't know. I mean, I don't date girls your age, so I mean, I have no idea. Maybe, but at the same time, I would also venture to say that it may just be common to all of them. And I do typically date women who are not into just casual encounters, and so like moving forward for them, I think is more uncomfortable because I mean there are women that I know and are around me that are very interested in just a short term encounter, and I'm not super receptive to that, and they will be very forward about things,
Hmm.
and so maybe that's what it is.
What do you think's going happening in the background there? Do you think it's like an evolutionary mechanism that just switches on, like they're nervous or apprehensive or something, and then you hit them with a kiss, and then the gears just fall into place, and then they something switches and something evolutionary takes over, and they give you that escalation that you were talking about.
Yeah, I don't really know exactly what it is. I mean, I think it's something that, we as men also struggle with because I mean, I cannot tell you how many times, it's happened to me where there has been an opportunity for, obviously there was a woman I was interested in, she was interested in me, and I've talked to you about this before. I have a very difficult time approaching women when they have their children and I have mine. It is a lot harder because I mean the kids don't want to have anything to do with this, and so several times it's happened where I just didn't do anything because it was like, well, this is just too awkward. It's uncomfortable, and after the fact, I'm thinking to myself, and I'm thinking I should have just done it. That was really stupid. You know what? It was a great opportunity for both of us, and it really could have been something, but I didn't do it because it was just so awkward. And so I think it's a similar type of thing, right? It's like after the fact, then there's like kind of this regret, and you get a little bit
Yeah,
of thinking about, gosh darn it, that could have been like a great relationship, and I just botched it. And so I'm thinking that that's kind of what's going on with them as well.
that thing that you mentioned about regret is really interesting. They say regret stings a lot more than the initial fear of failure, that awkwardness that prevented you from doing it in the first place.
Right. Right. No, I no, that's definitely true. I mean, have you experienced that? I definitely have.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
I think 90 I think 100% of the men that are watching this, and the women, I'm sure, have experienced that.
Yeah, and maybe what we're touching on here is not exactly social skills. Maybe it's just kind of anxiety and just, I don't know if it's necessarily fear of rejection in all cases. I mean, you could kind of chalk it up to that, but I think it's just maybe just some generalized anxiety around something that's just very new and it just feels very uncomfortable. Maybe it's
Yeah,
not really social skills.
and my I've talked with my therapist about it. I'm not ashamed to say that I talked with my therapist about it, and he says one of the first very comforting things that he said was that how that's a very valid and common thing with men my age, but I would argue like with all men feeling nervous about talking to women or approaching a possible partner. And I think it's common for the anxiety to be there, but I think the reason it's there, that's where we start to get a little bit more dynamic. And if you're gonna take note of anything I just said, this is the one thing I think you should write down or just keep in mind, and that's I think you should think long and hard and possibly talk to someone like a counselor or a therapist or a psychologist about that, just to see or eliminate the option that it um, see whether it comes from a something traumatic in your childhood or something in your past, just to eliminate that option. Because with me, I was, yes, very nervous about talking to women in my early 20s, and I still am. That stress and post traumatic response is, and emotional response is still there. But with me, it happened to be even more powerful because it came from something that was traumatic and when I was young. So I think it's very important for maybe not just men, but everybody to explore that anxiety to just make sure it's not something there's not something going on, just to make sure it's not something that everyone's experiencing. Maybe it might be something more than that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, anything you can do to make things better, right? But I would even go further than that, Grant, and say they should just talk to us.
Yeah.
Because really it just and I mean it's just it is difficult to, and I discovered this shortly after I got divorced. I contacted, the single guys I knew who were coworkers and friends and such, and I was thinking, okay, we're going to go out, we're going to go have fun. I'm going to go try to figure out what it's like to be single again. And they didn't want to do anything. They didn't go anywhere. There was literally nobody that I could talk to about the dating things that were going on, and people are very closed off. And I think that especially with guys, I mean, it's just an open book. You remember when we were sitting at that bar and that big guy came in and he's like, "Oh, I just got stood up." You remember this
Oh, the
guy? He's like looked like a big linebacker or something.
ball and biscuit.
Yeah. Yeah, you remember
I
this
remember
guy?
that. Yeah, we
Yeah.
exchanged cards. Yeah, I
What?
remember him.
Yeah.
We exchanged business cards.
Oh, did you really? Did you ever talk to him again?
All three, no, but all three of us exchanged cards, I
Yeah,
think.
I think I gave him a card, but I don't think I got hit. But yeah. Yeah, I mean, he was a nice guy and stuff, but like he was actually willing to say, "What the heck is going on? This is what happened to me." And very few guys are willing to do that, especially guys who are online dating, because nobody gets any results on online dating. And guys do not want to admit that. It's like a big shame. But as we mentioned before, I've been shown the statistics. It's over 75% men on Bumble. So the chances of you getting anything are so tiny. And I would even venture to say that 75% of those men on Bumble are a bunch of simps.
Simps. Now,
So,
uh,
yeah.
let's talk about that for a second. The
Okay.
the, the simping culture, because one of our mock podcast sessions, I don't think that's going to see the light of day, but we talked about simping culture, and I actually shed light on how some of the more extreme versions of simping
Okay.
that I shed light for you because you didn't know about it.
Yeah, I don't.
Do you remember that?
Give it to me again, man, because I don't remember.
Okay,
Early
so
onset
you're
Alzheimer's.
oh no, don't say that. Well, initially, your current understanding of the simping culture is it came from Twitch, which is the video game streaming platform, and ideally, there's a female streamer with a huge male audience, and she markets towards the men by maybe wearing low cut clothing and talking in a maybe a cute voice.
Sure.
And it came from Twitch because, as you know, you can donate money, and when you donate money, you can say a little comment. I just remember seeing this short form content video where this female streamer uh, got up to go AFK, away from keyboard,
Yep.
and one of their male viewers donated like thousands of dollars, but they did it. It's the worst time because she had just got up and didn't get to see that message, and then everybody in the chat was making fun of that man. And it's ironic because a lot of the men in the chat that were probably making fun of him were in the same boat,
They're
just
doing the
not.
same thing. They were mad because he had more money to give than they did.
Yeah, that's a good point. I haven't thought about it like that.
Yeah, it's the crab in the bucket thing again. It's I don't know. It's phenomenal how are you familiar with the crab in the bucket thing?
No, it's
If
oh
you put
the frog,
no,
the boiling
if
frog.
well, the boiling frog is another one. So, but the crab in the bucket thing. So if you have a bunch of crabs and you put them in a bucket, and one tries to escape, all the other
Yeah.
crabs will pull him back in. They won't let him
Ah,
go.
yeah.
So you're going to eat them all. But so somebody gets smart enough and tries to escape. Well, the other crabs are just like, no, you're not going to escape. You're staying here with us. Big dummies. So, but the boiling frog one, that's where you can slowly turn the heat up and he just stays in there
Yes.
until he gets boiled to death.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas if you throw it in boiling water straight away, it's aware and it jumps out real quick.
Oh, okay. Okay. I didn't know that part of it. Okay. So you can just slowly cook him to death. And there's a guy named Rich Cooper who does a lot of things. And I really like this phrase of his. That's similar to the frog thing. He calls it the relationship or the man goes beta by concession of a billion paper cuts, I think he says. But basically, just these one little, she nags, she nags, she nags, she nags. And pretty soon he's just like, okay, just tell me what you want me to do. Because he's trying to save the relationship, but she's like picked at so many freaking things at this point that he's just completely complacent in beta. He's just like, whatever, just tell me what you want to do, and I'll do that.
Mm.
But yeah, that's where I've heard the frog, the slowly boiled frog thing. Do you get it? The death by a thousand paper cuts, or it's
Yeah.
betatization by a thousand paper cuts. I think is actually the
Betatization.
phrase. Betatization by a thousand little cuts. Yes,
Now, I think if we're going to use the term beta here, like I feel like that might sting a little too hard for
sure.
some people.
It's
So
a
do you
it's
think that's
not a
substitute?
well defined term.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I don't think anybody should really be that scared of that term. I mean, I think that there are women out there who, what you would call the beta or the alpha or whatever. I mean, there are women out there that prefer different things, and you are what you are. The only problem is if you are going to be a simp and not take care of yourself, you're just going to sacrifice everything for someone else, and you're not going
Yeah.
to take care of yourself. That's not healthy,
Yeah.
and that's a problem. All the rest of it is just kind of minutia. I don't know.
Hmm. And you're right about that social hierarchy with women. Like there's some bad bitches out there.
There are. I was listening to Jordan Peterson today, and they were
Mm.
talking about, I think it was the podcast Diary of a CEO. I don't know if you ever watched that one.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So Jordan Peterson was on there, and dang it, I had a point. What were we talking about before
We
Jordan
were talking
Peterson?
the social hierarchy within it exists with women too, but most like it's more
Oh,
common to
yes,
talk
I
about
remember.
women.
So Jordan Peterson was saying that basically that women who work in law offices or are attorneys have a terrible time finding good men, but they have like this super successful career. He said they're almost always just gorgeous, but they have this terrible time finding men.
Mm.
And I think that's a great example of a place where maybe somebody who's seems very beta might, be really a great catch for somebody like that, because my guess is that if you're an attorney, you're probably kind of a type A personality. You're very outgoing, very probably boisterous type of a person, and it seems like maybe you'd want somebody who was willing to just kind of roll with the flow.
Mm.
But I don't know.
So you hear that, boys? You got to go to your nearest local law office right now and
Yeah, I was already thinking
knock
of
on their
Grant.
door.
I'm like, okay, I'm going to lawyers conventions now. That's my
Pull
new
the prank.
plan. I'm just going to go to all the legal conventions, and when they ask me what I'm doing there, I don't
Oh.
know. I'm going to have to come up with some crap. Maybe I can start selling
Mm.
pens. They like pens.
Oh,
Lawyers like
interesting.
pens.
They do. Put the trident on the side of it.
Exactly, exactly. I'll put the little symbol on there. They'll think it's beautiful.
No, but you have a good point. I remember Johnny Depp's lawyer during the Amber Heard trial.
I did not watch this. What happened?
Well, no, it's not what happened. It's just she's just a great example of what you're talking about. She was gorgeous and she had that personality that just screams that she's in charge.
Mm,
And I personally like and this is kind of what makes me a I don't I kind of like that. Not a lot of men like that. A lot of men like the women on the closer to the opposite end of the spectrum. If you in that regard,
right.
would you agree?
I don't necessarily know about a lot of men. I do. I prefer a very feminine, passive
Yeah, yeah,
woman. Yeah, very nurturing. That's kind of what I prefer. But I mean, there's everybody likes something different, and I don't know what. Honestly, most men, in my opinion, they don't even care. They'll just take whatever at this point. I don't know
yeah.
why that is, but it seems like that's what's going on.
Like the Simps, they're at. If you're gonna talk about rock bottom, I think that's it right there. You
Yeah.
probably get you. There's probably a deeper level of rock bottom, but simping is pretty down there. And I feel like once you get
Mm,
to that level of desperation, you will go for just about anything.
yeah. No, I agree. The simp is rock bottom because basically what winds up happening to simps is you wind up brokenhearted with no money. So I mean, broken heart sucks. You can be a broken heart and be broke too. That sucks a lot more. So and especially, I mean, these guys are spending. God, I think I told you. I mean, there was a girl that I was with, and she asked me for $10,000.
Mm,
And that just kind of ended everything. I was like, no, well, she's like, oh, I need $10,000. And I was like, well, that really sucks. I've been there. Sorry. She didn't like that. But I have seen it in person. These guys will do it. They'll give her the 10 grand and some more.
yeah, yeah.
And it's like, okay. So then eventually what happens? She just moves on to the next simp when you run out of money.
Hmm.
And I can't imagine how much that must hurt, right?
Uh, yeah,
I mean, you
it's
just blew all your money and you
devastating.
got a broken heart.
Yeah, there's a term for women like that. That's the gold digger, right?
It's the gold digger. I have another term for it. I don't know if you've heard this one. Have you ever heard of the basic bankruptcy bimbo?
No,
That's one of my terms.
B cubed.
Yeah, the basic bankruptcy bimbo. She just wants Chick-fil-A and Starbucks. She wants all your money and she doesn't really care about you at all.
Mm,
That's a basic bankruptcy bimbo, and there are a lot of them. You know what I'm talking about?
I
Are you
I
familiar with
don't.
the term basic?
Yes,
Okay.
like a basic bitch.
Yes, basic and then bankruptcy
Yeah,
because they're just gonna bankrupt you, and then bimbo because really she just doesn't care about you.
I rarely see one in the wild though.
Oh my gosh, I can introduce you to some.
Yeah,
They are out
exposure
there.
therapy.
What's that?
Exposure therapy.
Yeah, yeah, exposure therapy. I don't know. It's a shame that that type of thing goes on. It's unfortunate, but you know what? The men are not any better. I have a term for them too. Um, Stoic pajama boys.
Mm,
Are you familiar with these guys?
stoic pajama boys.
Yeah.
Well, I'm familiar with stoicism.
Hmm.
Very
Have
familiar
you
with
ever
that.
seen a guy who just like things? I don't know. I mean, I think it's what you would consider as like your typical trust fund frat boy.
Mm, okay.
He's just trying to be super stoic to get the girls. He's just standing there in the corner of the bar with his arms crossed, and this is him. And so then the girls will go for this because it seems like, oh, he's so mysterious and he's so rich and all this other crap. And what ends up happening? It goes freaking nowhere. They just end up getting a broken heart and nothing back from it at all.
Hmm. Now, I think I definitely seen that. I'd be, I think it'd be easier for me to spot that than the B cubed.
Okay. Yeah, you just haven't run across it yet, but I don't know. You probably should. You've got a little big college down there, and I know that's where I see it up here is the college girls. There's I wouldn't say a lot of them, but the ones who are out at the club and things, yeah, there's quite a few.
You, you know, my dad was helping me move in back in November last year, about 2 months ago, and while we're wheeling the trolley down this ramp in the parking garage, we're passing all these cars. My dad's really big into cars. He knows his cars.
Okay.
And he's just looking around. Then he turns to me and he's like, "Hey, Grant." And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Be careful of the women around here." Because he's looking at all these cars and these Jeeps with the the tire cover on the back, and he's
Of
telling me
course.
how if you have that car and you're a woman, well, if you have a Jeep, you're probably a woman anyways. But no, the it,
Mostly.
yeah, yeah. He said if you have that type of car, there's a good chance that you come from money, and then there's a bunch of stuff. There's a whole rabbit hole with stereotype that
So
sometimes
those are
happens.
the basic bankruptcy bimbos down there. Just stay away from the girls with the Jeep with the wheel cover.
Okay. It'll say something like I don't know if they still put this on the back of their Jeep, but it'll be like silly boys Jeeps are for women, or
Oh
silly
yes.
boys
Yeah,
Jeeps are
I've
for
seen
girls.
that.
Yeah. Now, if you are a simp, and I feel like simp can really sting for a lot of men too, that term, but I feel like it's better off having the word simp sting for you because if you are a simp, that's probably why it stings, and you need all the motivation you get, even if it's negative, to get out of that. But hey, your money's probably better off being spent at a strip club because at least you're
Yep.
gonna have experience being around women. It'll be women that just want you for your money, but it's still a woman and not someone on a screen that doesn't know you exist.
Well, basically, when you're doing the simp route, you're basically, I mean, it's not too far off from prostitution. And so, I mean, the only difference is that you're believing that it is. You're believing that it's a real relationship and there's real love involved. But for the most part, that's not always the case, I guess we'll say, because I'm sure there are situations out there where it is, an actual relationship. But I don't know. I when I see it happening, it's just very much like I think these guys legit. But I've heard guys actually have trouble falling for prostitutes.
Mm,
Now I don't know. I have not dabbled in that world, but I've heard that is the case. The guys will basically fall for a prostitute and they just keep trying to pay her again and again and again and again and get her back because they're like have feelings for her. But I don't know how that works. That's seems odd because you kind of know up front. But anyhow, we got to get back to social skills. We're so far off base.
yeah, yeah.
We're way down the rabbit hole.
Well, you talked about that Was that the? Remember we were at that bar in Indy, Nowhere Special, and you talked
Hmm.
about that situationship. Is that the same woman from that story?
No, okay, which woman you're talking about? You're talking about $10,000, the kiss, or
Oh,
the woman who want to spend all her time with me.
the woman that wanted the very first one where she was like, um, at one point she just hit you with a bombshell of like emotional confessions and how she was so into you or
Yeah,
something.
I never dated that woman.
No.
Yeah, no, that was not the same one. That was somebody completely different. And yeah, I still to this day don't understand what in the heck was going on there. I couldn't tell you. All I know is that it was such a mess. And even that woman has, like, she does really strange things. Like, she will contact me to give me her ex husband's tools
Yeah.
because she knows I use tools. And so, like, just probably earlier this year, she contacted me. She wanted me to give me some of his stuff. And so I was like, okay, well, this is probably an excuse for us to get together and catch up or whatever. And she did this really weird thing where like we kind of kept playing tag on, when I was going to be home and she was going to drop it by and stuff. and she did this really weird thing, and she like maneuvered it so she would be dropping it off when I wasn't home. And I was just like, okay, that's fine, but this is really weird. You just so badly want me to have his tools, but you don't really want to talk to me. I, I cannot explain this one. She's an oddball.
Yeah.
I think legit she's probably somebody who wants something to happen between us, but she's so shy or something that she just gets very nervous when it's, time to talk about it. I, I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine, man.
Mm.
I've analyzed that sucker so many friggin' times. I have no idea.
Well, hey, maybe when you get your book out, that'll be one of the most famous passages.
You know what? That's something I would write a book, but who in the hell wants to read that? There's so many of these friggin' books out there. It's like in the only one I really like is Mark Manson's Models. Is an
Models. Yeah, yeah.
awesome book. Awesome book. Other than that, I haven't read a single dating book which I'd be like, "Oh, this is awesome." His is the only one. Have you done that one before?
I haven't read it, but I'm very familiar with it.
Okay.
And
Yeah, if you're ever just curious, I'm not necessarily sure there's anything in there that you would benefit from, but if you're just curious and want to hear one, that was uh, that was one I literally listened to, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is like all good advice. And the others, I don't know. It's just cash grabs. People just trying to make money. But anyhow, okay, back to social skills. Let's talk about
social
social
skills.
skills. All right, so I'm going to give you an example of an individual that I have dealt with, whom I tried to befriend, tried to kind of coach him a little bit on dating. He definitely is. I'd say he's in his late 40s, maybe early 50s. I do not think he's ever been on a date. He still lives with his parents, and but he was a really nice guy, and I did try to just for him and I just to be friends, and that did he just didn't really reciprocate the effort, so we didn't end up being friends. But I had given him. I used to give out these. I don't know if I ever gave you one. I used to give out these packets of. It was just a 3-page handout, and I gave them out, and it was just kind of like it was basically all of the stuff that nobody actually wants to hear about themselves. I was just giving it to people on paper because then, it eliminated a lot of difficult conversation.
Yes.
So, in this packet, one of the things that it talked about was the fact that, you really needed to have something interesting going on in your life as a man. Otherwise, what's really the point, in your life? So, anyhow, I passed this along to him. He kind of took it, and I won't tell you exactly what he did for fear of him maybe seeing this someday, but he kind of just half-assed it. I mean, just kind of did something that's kind of something, but it was very simple. And but then this same guy, I see him like he always had this. I don't know. Are you familiar with the resting I want to kill you face?
Uh, like resting bitch face?
Yeah, except for his I want to kill you face.
Okay.
He had this like psychotic look that he would give you sometimes, and it was like I think it's when he was irritated,
Yeah.
and like I saw him at a church a couple weeks ago, and he doesn't go to my church. He I guess was trying a new church, and he was looking at me, just glaring at me with that look. And I'm like, you could just smile or wave or whatever. But really, I mean, like with that guy, like the social skills are really a problem. And I mean, it literally starts with that, right? I mean, if you're going to look like that, it's a big problem. It's a huge problem. And so, I mean, I think that the social skills really starts with, just the smile. Or
Hmm.
I guess if you want to be stoic, that's okay too, but you have to indicate you're friendly somehow.
Yeah.
I mean, like, what do you do when you see somebody you want to talk to? I mean, how's your approach? What do you do?
what's the? Could you give me some context? Like, are we walking by each other in the street or in a
Sure.
bar?
Yeah, I mean, basically, you make eye contact somehow.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I did hear this really awful advice on Reddit one time.
Oh, this is
So
great.
let's talk about what not to do first.
Yeah, sure.
Now, this this guy, and coincidentally, this could be useful advice for our friend here that you just talked about.
Hmm.
Some guy asked how you should smile at a woman without being creepy. And the first comment, so people actually agreed with these guys.
Interesting.
It was nice, short and sweet. He said, "Imagine you orgasming on her face. Now you know that teethy grin that you have on your face right now as I'm explaining that. Smile like that at her."
Oh my God, these people. Hey, I guess if that works for you, okay, but that's really not. Yeah, I don't think that's great advice. I'm not sure exactly what kind of a look that would inspire.
Right. No, now here's what I do. I'm actually working on this right now, at least parts of it. One of the things that actually sets me up for failure is not being present in the conversation, not just the conversation, but before, during, and I would argue at some point, sometimes even after the conversation too. Because if you're working on yourself, it's a good idea to reflect afterwards. Uh, if you're if you're present while you're walking on the street or in a bar and you actually want to approach someone, you'll be in a something that I call the C cubed state, calm, centered, and confident. All those three things will just sometimes come automatically when you're present. And if you're present beforehand, you should have be in a nice stable state to be comfortable approaching your woman, and then be confident, calm, and centered during the conversation. So you're not having a bunch of immediate thoughts in your head of what to talk about. There's a really good book by David Brooks called How to Know a Person, and it talks a lot about the practical stuff to do when you're talking to someone. And I think if you're not confident centered, or if you're not centered, if you're not present, it's going to be very hard to do all those very useful things he talks about in the book. So I am still working on being centered when I want to approach someone. As far as the eye contact goes, it's interesting. You just have to, I guess, you just have to really want it. I think I need to think about that some more, but I think this is a good place to start.
Sure, sure. No, I think that the be I don't, did you say being centered? Is that what you're how you called it?
Being present,
Being
centered.
present.
Yeah,
Yeah,
present.
I mean being present. I mean, I know in yoga we talk about it, be here now is always the phrase we use. And I mean, I think that's really huge and it's really hard to do because, I mean, especially as soon as you get that thought that this is something romantic, it becomes orders of magnitude worse.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, I think that that's really challenging. And especially if you are really interested, it becomes because your mind starts, how this is. Your mind starts to
Yeah,
wander. You start thinking, oh, shit, what should I say? What should I
yeah,
do? And I mean, in those scenarios, I always tell guys, compliment and close. Just get the hell out of there. Just tell her that she's pretty. Tell her whatever you'd like the necklace. I mean, probably you can't think of anything to say. So just tell her she's cute, whatever, and literally just say, I would like to take you out sometime. Can I have your phone number? It's
yeah,
just get it over with and then get the phone number and run away as fast as you can. And if she says no, you can't have the phone number, you can even run away and push people down and you're never going to see her again. So who cares? Right?
yeah. And in less than a minute, she's already back on her phone,
Oh, yeah,
thinking
for
about whatever
sure.
she was thinking about.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, though, it's not really like that. Most likely, at least in my experience, when I have done that and it has not worked out, like she's has a husband or a boyfriend or who knows what freaking excuse I got, but like she's very happy, like she's smiling because I complimented her and she got asked out. She's feeling like she's awesome now.
Mm,
And so, I mean, really, you're doing her a service and doing her a favor by doing it. Because regardless of what happens, she's going to be happy about it. Unless you're a creep and a weirdo, and then it's something else. But that's social skills again, right?
right, right.
So yeah, I mean, I think one of the easiest things to do is just to literally people need to look in the mirror and figure out how to smile. Like you can't just like you can make a smile and you got to get your eyes involved.
Yeah,
It's got to come all the way up here. And, you just need to practice it in the mirror. And then you know what it looks like. You know how to make it and how to make it feel. And then you know what it's going to look like anyhow. And that's like a huge skill to have, anyhow, because every time somebody takes your picture, you want to smile and look good. You don't want to just, have some weird expression on your face. And I think we all have had pictures where we have some weird look on our face, and
yeah.
it's not super flattering, right?
I think it's important to have nice teeth as well, a nice grill,
Mm.
or at least go to the dentist and brush your teeth and floss. You know, that's important if you want to show teeth when you smile.
That is definitely true.
There's
Yeah.
this practical technique that I heard from Aaron Marino. He has a YouTube channel called Alpha M. He's an
Okay.
entrepreneur, and he says, and you can use this whenever you want to smile, especially if you're about to have a picture taken and you want to. This is great because if you don't know how to smile, you can just use this technique, and at least it's not going to look god awful. He says to press your tongue against the back of your top row of teeth, and he says that forces your face muscles to relax in certain areas, and you get this.
Trying this. Go ahead. Oh, I see.
Now that's not my natural smile. My natural smile is actually eh, I'm more comfortable with my natural smile now, and when I do my
Okay.
natural smile, my tongue isn't against my teeth. It's more just like I just finished laughing.
Right.
Uh, so that's my smile. So maybe try that route. Notice how your face looks when you laugh. But the interesting thing is you can't force yourself to make that smile again. So it has to be genuine.
Yeah.
So the more the genuine, the better, because women will actually pick up on that stuff.
They will. Well, that the genuine stuff just comes from the look in the eyes. It's a little bit more tough, and I've got some secrets of how to make that work too. But I really think, for me, what really helped was I just every time I looked in the mirror, I'm at work in the bathroom washing my hands. I'm practicing my smile in the mirror when nobody's in there. Anytime I'm just at home doing whatever, and there's a mirror, just practice the smile a while, and after you do it long enough, you know what it feels like. You know how to actually just do it. And when you can do that on command, it's huge because you know what you're looking like, and you don't have this death face, where somebody's like, "Oh my god, this creepy serial killer is, smiling at me." You need to kind of know what it looks like. And the eyes thing, it really helps. So this goes back to confidence. With the eyes, like if you can smile and feel confident at the same time, it will show in your eyes. You'll get like a sparkle kind of in your eyes, and
Yeah.
you can even see it in the mirror.
Hmm.
So, I mean, that's another thing. And really, that confidence comes from like thinking about recalling a time when you were actually just really proud of yourself. And that will kind of give you that confident shine in your eyes. So, I mean, those two things, the smile and that sparkle in your eyes, if you can pull that off, I mean, that's great for the start,
Hmm.
right? And then actually starting a conversation and things. I mean, if she's super great, or even, I mean, this kind of goes for women too, which, I mean, because I've been approached by women before. And, if they're going to go for it, I mean, I think the same thing applies. I don't know, the women thing's a little bit difficult for me. I mean, have you ever been approached by a woman that you were not interested in?
Ooh. Man, it's been it's a long time since I was approached by a woman.
Okay.
Uh, uh, it, that I'm interested in, that I'm
Right.
not interested in. I don't think so. Because even if I'm not, if I'm the most remotely not interested in them, because of what I'm looking for with casual encounters, I can look past that, you know,
Yeah.
because guys are, you know, they're slippery like that.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's definitely true. I mean, I've talked to a lot of guys who feel that way. I'm kind of one of these people who's kind of always dated very pretty women, and so
Yeah.
that's something, and that's what we've talked about that. We need to discuss that on here. That's something I cannot get past. But I do have, like when I discuss this topic, it's like it brings up like this uncomfortable feeling inside me because I don't want to reject somebody, but I'm really not interested. And so I can kind of feel from that, how, a very attractive woman feels when she's approached by some creepy guy or somebody who, is not got any communication skills. She doesn't really want to just be like, ooh, go away. But at the same time, she also doesn't want to talk to him.
Hmm.
So, I mean, I think that is a big part of the social skills thing is like, if you just can smile, you can make the good eye contact and everything goes well, you should be able to, from that, get a pretty decent idea if she's going to be cool with chatting. Or you could even take that a next step. Maybe you can't tell, and you could just go over and say hi, and she'll be really freaking cold if she's not interested. Do you remember when we went to that piano bar and you went outside to talk to the lady who was singing, and I approached this Chinese girl that was in the bar,
Uh-huh.
and I went to shake her hand, and she just stood there and stared at me and said, "I don't shake hands."
Oh, I remember that, but I'm having trouble remembering the woman I approached.
Yeah, it was an older black lady who had just sung a song and had went out, I think she went outside. I don't know where you went to talk to her.
Ooh, piano bar.
Yeah, it was, oh, Hal, with
Hell at the
Hal.
moon.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I remember that now. I went on the
Yeah,
balcony.
right. Right. But I mean, obviously I didn't get the right signs from her because she was like, "Oh, I don't shake hands." I was like, "Okay, that's like the rudest thing you could have possibly said." Where I feel like basically she was telling me, "Ooh, yuck, get away," which is fine, but yeah, I mean, you just sometimes you don't know what they're thinking, but just going and introducing yourself, if it goes like that, then you kind of know that, okay, my bad.
Do you think that was
Obviously,
a
you're
shit
not
test?
interested. What's that?
You think that was a shit test?
I don't know what that was really. I just, that was a situation where literally I was kind of just thinking the whole compliment and close type of thing. I was just thinking that, okay, this is going nowhere. I'm just going to get the heck out of here
Yeah, that's
because
valid.
I'm not going to mess with this. I mean, what in the heck are you? I'm maybe shit. I have no idea. I don't know the exact. I would have liked to have had kind of a smirky comeback to that, but I was so caught off guard. I was literally like, uh,
Yeah.
"Okay,
That
goodbye."
yeah. That's but that's exactly the you bring up the smirky comeback. That's exactly one of the best ways to respond to a
It
shit
is.
test. Do you know what the my hypothesis is if she is really attractive, she probably gets a lot of if she's really attractive, she gets a ton of dudes approaching her, and you kind of get tired of that if it happens a lot.
Hmm.
So that's where the shit test comes in. It kind of weeds out some dudes and makes getting hit on a lot more fun, maybe if you're into
I
making people mad.
I don't know what it is because I don't know. Like I said, I can kind of relate to them because that happens to me. I wouldn't say a lot, but maybe two times a year. And when it happens, I mean, I can see it coming, and I'm literally like, oh my God, where can I hide? I don't want this to go down, and so I kind of can sympathize with them because, who knows what they're thinking. Maybe they have a specific type or whatever, and, whoever's approaching them just doesn't match that. I don't know. But I'm just saying, as an example, like if you didn't get it, I mean, you could just, talk to her, introduce yourself or something, and most likely she's not going to do what that girl did. But probably she's going to just be very short with you and kind of, keep kind of turning away. And you can figure out pretty quickly that, okay, this is going nowhere.
Hmm.
So, and I think that's a social skill that probably some guys may lack.
Yeah.
They may think,
I
they may have heard things about persistence and this kind of craziness.
Yeah, persistence.
Yes, and I don't know if persistence comes off as anything besides creepy. I don't know. Maybe it does.
You have to spot when it's appropriate to use it, because if you use it wrong, you're gonna come off as creepy and insufferable. But if you use it right, then you're gonna appear, well, clever to the guys that watch you do it, and the woman's gonna find you charming.
Right. Right.
You know,
Well, yeah, but I
I
think
do
that's
remember that
that's
night.
so tough to do. I mean, for someone who's like really working on the social skills, I mean, dang, that's a big step.
And let's talk about the women for a minute. If you're
Yeah.
a woman getting hit on, you just told me how painful it is to get to want to get out of there. If you're a woman that gets hit on, you also have the fact that there's this man who's, you know, objectively stronger than you, and you might be a little bit more. You have to be more careful about what you say, because there's some really scary men out there. Let's be real.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think I've had a lot of comments on TikTok regarding, why women aren't dating. And because I do think that we have a serious shift. I think more men are interested in dating than we have women interested in dating. We're not short anybody. We don't have too many men or too many women, but we have a lot of men who are very interested in dating. And it seems like most single women really aren't interested. And I mean, I think that's where this comes from, right? And then so it becomes, so if you're in that scenario, and I can kind of picture this for myself, it's a lot more comfortable to go to work and go home, and that's it. And then you know that you're not going to get yourself any uncomfortable situation. And so I think that's kind of where all of that is coming from, because they're not going out to bars and having fun and doing these things because, maybe it's because of that fear. Maybe it's something else.
Maybe.
Hard to say.
Yeah, you bring up a good point, and that's why I think that if men are nervous about the there's a certain there's a certain type of woman that goes to a bar in general, whether it's during the
Yes.
week or on a Saturday night. That's different too. But if you're nervous, if you're a man and you're nervous approaching women at a bar, I think going during the week is one of the best times to do it, because one, it's less intimidating. It's not going to be as busy if there's an event not going on. Even if there's an event going on, it probably won't be that bad. There's going to be if there's a woman drinking at the bar alone, that says something. It says that it's easier to make judgment calls, more confident judgment calls, and the pickup community in the seduction subreddit
Hmm.
calls it the lone wolf.
Hmm.
That's what they call the woman that goes to a bar alone during the week. They say that those are the types of women you have to look out for, because they're typically looking for something. It's really easy to find out that they're looking for something if they go to a bar alone during the week.
What are they looking for? They're just looking for sex,
Oh,
or they're looking for something else.
sex, or at least approached. They might not know. I'd argue that they really don't know what they're looking for. They might not be sure about what they are going to the bar for, but they're definitely looking for a man to approach them.
Okay,
Let's say
which makes
if it's a lone
but
wolf.
Really, how many times have you gone to a bar and seen a woman sitting alone at the bar? That has literally never happened to me. I've never seen.
Oh well, some of the steakhouses, and I'm not an expert, but some of the steakhouses in Indy, they would have the if there's a bar in the steakhouse, there would be a middle-aged woman that's drinking there alone.
Okay. Okay, well, I mean, maybe that's the case. I know that the actual like bars I've been to and things, I have literally never seen that. In fact, I usually sit at the bar and I encourage people to sit at the bar because of social skills, because bartenders will talk to you. And so will people, there's sometimes guys at the bar that you can chat with. I mean, it's just a great place to hone your social skills if you can hear anything. Um, but I have literally never seen a woman sitting alone in a bar. I can catch some guys sitting up there, maybe a girl and a boyfriend, a couple sitting up there. But yeah, I haven't seen that. But I don't know. I would be afraid of who I'd find in a steakhouse at a bar. I don't think that probably would be what I'm looking for. Just my guess.
You know those we should dig into some of those comments in our next Monday on TikTok. We can answer some of them or analyze some of them.
We could. Well, I have heard rumors that TikTok may be getting banned soon.
Oh, you know what? You're right. The 19th.
So, is it on the 19th? Okay.
I saw the date on the news.
Yeah, I literally was just thinking, okay, I'm just going to abandon it until the next presidency, and then I'll go back and mess with it.
Yeah.
Just let it go. Let the world deal with it.
Where
It's
do you think you'll move
okay.
to?
What's that?
If it goes away, where do you think you'll go?
I I don't know. I mean, I think that I'm going to just continue to work on this and just kind of see where this goes. And I mean, I have my other gig going on, so I'm kind of curious to see how that goes too, the Thursday thing. So, I'm going to kind of just work on that and work on this and see what happens. And I'm going to try to start getting more singles interviews up too. But honestly, man, we've been snowed in. It's a freaking mess here. You moved at a good time. It's just stupid.
Oh man.
But okay, social skills. Let's try to wrap this up. So we talked about just the whole smile, the just trying to have like a confident look in your eyes, just going and just talking to somebody if you think maybe they're slightly interested, just a hi, just an introduction. If you're, nervous, just do the compliment and close thing and just try to get the number. And then, you can call her up later on after you've had time to cool off and you actually know what you want to say. Then, that can go a lot better. Most likely, from most of what I hear, usually 90% of the time you put compliment and close, she's going to ghost you.
Mm.
So don't, feel too terribly bad if that's what happens. I don't know. I think that goes back to what I was talking about earlier, where it's like it's the female social skills. It's like they were not, they didn't have good social skills when you initially talked to them to communicate what they were thinking. And probably the ghosting is communicating what they were thinking.
Mm.
That's my guess. I mean, what is your opinion on what goes on in the ghosting thing? Have you experienced this type of thing?
Oh, I've been ghosted many times, many
Yeah.
times.
And what do
It's
you think happens?
I think depends on what's on the situation. If it's on a dating app and you're ghosted, sometimes there's still hope. You can find out why she's ghosting you without actually saying it, and there's a whole that's a whole other topic to talk about. But you said something about complimenting clothes.
Yeah.
The clothes specifically, the reason why she ghosts you, or just in general, like an example.
Um, well, I think most likely that like if you're using the compliment and close type of technique, so basically you're just feeling pretty nervous. My guess is that what may be going on there is she just after she had time to think about your interaction with her, she was not into it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, hindsight. Once thing you said, yeah,
Which
like you said,
makes sense, right? Because you're probably a little nervous, and she's kind of got a weird vibe off of it, and so
yeah.
yeah, then her only thought is okay. I'm not. I'm just going to pretend like I'm not here or whatever.
I I thought you meant compliment clothes like clothing, and you said to
Oh,
stay make keep that off limits. But no, that's not what you meant at all.
yeah. No, I'm talking about the when you go and just use compliment close. So you give her a compliment and then you just tell her you want to take her on a date, get the phone number, and get out of there.
Right.
That's what I'm talking about.
I think that's a valid possible reason what about the motivation behind ghosting. There can be many reasons why a woman may ghost, but I think it might be more important to talk about how for some men the compliment close that might be too much for them, and if they're nervous about approaching and it's not working out for them, they should do smaller steps. So maybe just starting with a compliment, if that's too much, which it very might as well, I'm sure that's a lot for some men out there, then I don't know, like asking for directions or something minimal, exposure therapy.
Exactly. No, I completely agree with that. And something else that I've discovered too, if with most guys, if you approach a woman and you just start talking to her, uh, there are other women that will start passing you by and saying hello, like they want some of your attention.
uh,
And so that is a huge reason just to do that is literally just to, and I mean, and then that feels good. A lot of times that is super confusing because you're talking to this person, that person kind of wants you. You don't know anybody. Everybody's a stranger, but that definitely, have you experienced that before?
I've definitely noticed more attention from women while I'm talking for to a woman, and sometimes it has me wondering if the woman I'm talking to notices other women not involved in the conversation giving me attention. Does that cause her to give me more attention? And there's like this feedback loop.
I'm sure that's probably the case, but I don't know when that's happened, at least to me. Typically, like the woman I'm talking to, I don't know, maybe she's just kind of nervous, or it goes back to her social anxiety. I don't necessarily know, but it doesn't seem to work like that. It's like the other women around are they want me to talk to them instead. I don't know what is going on there.
Mm,
Just crazy stuff. But as far as just developing social skills, I mean, what do you think is a good, if there was a guy or even a girl out there and they're just super shy and they would really like to do these things? They've been kind of dating online because they're shy, and oh my God, I haven't downloaded the Boo app, but they're marketing towards these people. And I don't know if you've seen this. This is some more garbage, but I mean, what would you say to these people as to how can you get out there and actually try to meet somebody?
mm. Well, men, if men are nervous approaching women, I think it's first very important to figure out whether that anxiety about approaching women comes from something traumatic or if it's just you being genuinely nervous with nothing to be concerned about. And once you've eliminated the idea that it could be traumatic, then I think it's important to figure out what you're comfortable with. Maybe you're comfortable approaching women. Are you comfortable approaching women in your apartment? Or are you comfortable approaching women on the street? If you're not comfortable approaching women on the street, but you're comfortable approaching women in your apartment, maybe find a yellow area. Like literally make a Venn. I've done this. Make a Venn diagram of context where you're comfortable approaching women. That'll be your green circle, and then your red circle will be your no go zone where you're just absolutely so stricken with anxiety there's no way you would approach that woman, and try to find a compromise, a yellow area. Maybe the yellow area is maybe approaching women in the apartment is too easy, and you want to approach women that are close to the apartment or at a coffee shop near the apartment. And I think it's important to find to slowly move the yellow towards the green, and once as the green grows, hopefully the red will shrink as the red stuff will go towards the yellow zone, and then you have more stuff to work on. So I'm really just looking for exposure therapy.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, and I do feel like especially now, I'm one of these people that I go to the store, I smile at everybody.
Yeah.
I try to get I try to get some kind of social mirroring or something from most people, and most people will not look at me. They will look at the ground. They will look away. I mean, it's not even it's other men. It's older people. It's younger people. It's across the board. It is very, very rare to get somebody who will actually just look at me and I'm smiling, so they smile back. That is super rare, which I think that it just all chalks up to social skills. And I think if people would just actually just look up and look around, you would kind of discover that, you know, I don't know, it's a lot easier to have social skills than it is to not.
Yeah, be present.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think there's anybody out there who um, has not just had a good conversation with their family or their friend or whatever. And just because it's a stranger doesn't necessarily mean it's got to be super awkward. I mean, you just talk about whatever, and that's that, right?
Hmm.
But I don't know. It would be curious to see. It looks like we'll be able to actually publish this one so far, and so it'll be curious to see if we get any comments or get any
Yeah,
views, or I don't know. We'll see what
yeah, I'm
happens.
excited.
But all right, well, let's go ahead and close it out for tonight. And again, singles confessions. This is just the realities of modern dating. And we tried to talk tonight a lot about a lot of social skills and just, eye contact and smiling and not looking like a creep when you are just looking at people. And then going and talking to people and seeing if they have any interest in, or see if it seems like they're maybe interested. We talked about the compliment and close technique, and we talked about just exposure therapy, going out and just trying to talk to people, just maybe a little bit outside the comfort zone and more outside the comfort zone, and so on and so forth. And we discussed Grant's technique for going to steakhouses and looking for single women at the bar.
Yes, the lone wolf. They're
The
out
lone
there.
wolf. Exactly. All right, man. We'll see you next week.